Don't get started yet. Guys, it's Ben Travers' birthday today. Can we please do this right? With a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Happy birthday to you. He's totally red. Happy birthday to you. Now he doesn't like it. Happy birthday, dear Ben. Happy birthday to you. All right, good night, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, sir. I am a Midwesterner, so I do not know how to accept attention.
I understand this. I understand this 100%.
Well, I've got to say, first and foremost, I'm so happy to see that you succeeded in making Togetherness Season 3.
There it is. It's what everybody was asking me for, so really, we gave it up.
Well, I certainly was. And really, when you set out to create something like this, it's such a different entity. I mean, there's horror, it's anthological. I mean, there's a lot of different muscles being worked here. Was that kind of the purpose? Did you want to go after something in a whole new realm?
I think the first purpose was something that was very, I guess, what you'd call on-brand for us, which was to make a show that was cheap to make and something that, felt like, okay, you always pass these sort of like kind of boring, banal corporate hotels like just outside of the airport, like the Holiday Inn Express kind of thing, and we're always just like, that place just kind of sucks, and then we thought to ourselves, like, well, what if we could make that interesting? And so this idea of inside of the mundane, could you mine mystery and magic and wonder and all these wonderful things? That got really exciting to us. So that was kind of the birthplace of the show. So while Ralphie, what you've just seen, goes in that direction, there's 12 total episodes of the season, and they all go in every possible direction you could imagine. And the idea of making a show that was genre-less, that we just did whatever the fuck we wanted to do, was really exciting.
Well, kind of along with that vein, I mean, obviously you wrote this episode, but you've got a lot of different writers, a lot of different directors who come on for this sort of thing. Was that also kind of part of the goal for you, to kind of bring in new talent who can be exposed and get an opportunity to really put something of their own up on the screen?
Yeah, I think it makes everything feel sort of fresh in that way, that we have sort of these familiar things, this one room that we all know at this point, and then just bringing new people and new voices into it, just to sort of keep it alive the whole time.
Yeah, we've been producing like a lot of movies for young filmmakers, and that collaboration has been really fun for us. And this seemed like it could be almost a AAA ball club for like all the things that we want to do in movies later on, and at the same time, we've even talked to HBO and internally about like, oh, any one of these episodes, if they like really are amazing, could spin off and become its own show, following the characters as they head outside of the room, And I think that like the most, surprising part of it for us was realizing that. So I wrote 7 of the episodes for the show. And normally we would have done what Jay and I do, which is like, well, Jay and I, let's go direct them and do what we do. And that is still exciting to us. But by bringing in like Sarah Adina Smith, who directed this episode, and allowing her weirdness to spill all over it and who she is and that sort of alchemical collaboration thing, I personally believe it kind of elevated the episode. I don't know how to direct like that. It's not my thing. It's not what I do. You see the cinema. It's, for those of you who've seen what we do, it's kind of different. So that was just really exciting at this phase in our life, to be like, what does that mean to give like a shot to someone who's younger than I am, less experienced, quite frankly hungrier than I am? And I think that like it made the episode better, because whatever she might have lacked in experience, she quite frankly made up for in like excitement to be a part of the show, willingness to prepare like way more than I would have, and bringing a whole new aesthetic to it. So like that was kind of our thinking, was like, let's open this to a massive collaboration.
One of the other things that was really interesting to me is you kind of hear the stereotype or the cliche a lot when a TV series is incorporating a location, that the X location is really a character in the show. But because this is anthological and really the only thing pulling it through is the room, you guys kind of really did it. So I know I've seen a few of these. I know a little bit about where you're going with it, but are we going to learn more about the room itself? Is that really going to be a development process as we continue to go through these episodes?
That's a great question. I mean, we talked a lot early on, and the three of us were involved pretty early on. Maggie's done all of our shows from a music supervision point, I mean, in our movies for like the last 10 years, and Sid's been with us for a while, and we talked about how much we wanted to just be completely episodic, right? Like Twilight Zone, just like every episode is totally different versus have things to carry us through. And one of the things we pinpointed on that front was less about like the design of the room and was about music and stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about like kind of our score process and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the song choice, it's the score, and we had a fantastic composer, Julian Wast, who I wish was here. And there is a through line with his score. There's one theme that's consistent throughout the entire season. And I think other than the production design, might be the only consistent thing about our episodes. And just back to talk about what you said about Mark opening it up to different directors, and you, Mark, suggest I've been with Mark and Jay since Puffy Chair.
Yeah.
And it's been really fascinating for me, just as a friend and also a collaborator, to watch them open it up to different directors and see their material change through other people's eyes. And you guys saw one example of it, but there are 11 others. We have different directors for each episode, and it's been thrilling. But yeah, back to Julian Moss and the music. That was the one consistent.
There's like little Easter eggs you'll pick up as you watch the show. Like the theme stays the same of the music score, but you'll hear it like different tempos and different music, and
Different instruments.
Different instruments. They'll give you little hints about what you're headed into, and we posthumously discovered something cool. I wish I could say we were smart enough to have engineered it this way, but as we started screening these episodes for our friends and family, we started realizing that something great happens because you really don't know what tone you're getting for the first 5 minutes of the episode, and everybody just starts kind of leaning in and just being like, what is going to happen to us here? And that active engagement has been like, I think, if there's anything that makes TV shows special in the era of peak TV, like if we have something to offer, it's the unexpected experience, and I don't know what's coming.
And I think with these episodes, it's what is going on, and then it's 10 minutes in, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's just crazy.
That seems very accurate, at least from that first episode. But to kind of keep it on you, Ms. Phillips, for a second, one of the things that we talked about a little bit before was the idea of the closing music and kind of the closing credits, and I know that's something you worked on for the show. And I mean, Netflix is creating things where you can skip all that stuff, and it's almost making it a non-entity. But on HBO, it does seem like a big deal. Like, people really pay attention to that sort of thing, especially with shows like Silicon Valley. What was it like? What was the process of crafting that, or what was your intention when you wanted to set a tone with the music in that way?
Well, first of all, I think end title songs are kind of becoming passé because people are clicking next episode. But HBO has a history of having these strong end title and song endings. And so there is pressure with HBO, particularly of picking that song that everyone's going to get excited about. And picking songs for end titles is the most fun because there's no picture you have to tie it to. It's sort of open-ended, and you can, when you're putting a song to picture, you have to think a lot about lyrically. What am I saying? Is it too on the nose? Is it distracting from what's happening? And with the end titles, it's a little more free.
I feel like with this show, because the tone is like, it can be all over the place even within one episode. Like, there's comedy, there's horror, there are all of these things that the final song can really say. Like,
it's a comment more than you do in most other shows.
And to our history of Maggie and I having been working together for the last 12 years, you've had every type of budget possible, in the Puffy Chair, where we were just like begging people for $500 a song to like give us something, to Togetherness, which is a traditionally modeled HBO show where we could like fucking license Fleetwood Mac songs, or it was like amazing for a minute there, and like Room 104, not to get like too like businessy, but like whatever, it's a TV festival, I'll do a deep dive. Like, we made this show specifically to be like, hey HBO, we're going to make this show at a fraction of the cost that you make your normal shows. Will you allow us to take some risks? Will you greenlight 12 episodes right off the bat and not put us through a pilot phase, not put us through traditional development? Let us take some crazy risks. And they were like, 100% as long as you're making it cheap. So we're like, great. So I then turn around to everybody, Sid, and I'm like, okay, Sid, build me a room and let's get some people in there. We have 3 days to shoot these episodes. How are we going to do this and make it great? And then turn to Maggie and be like, you have this amount of money to go get your credit song. She's like, really? What about Fleetwood Mac? I was like, nope. We're going to figure something else out on this one. And at this phase in our life, like, just speaking candidly, like, I've had a lot of different opportunities. I've made studio movies, I've made little movies, and the opportunity to back in creatively into a limited box that said, this is all you can do, so like try to make it great and try to get inspired again. It kind of made me feel like a kid, like in film school again, where I was like, oh, we have a smaller crew and we don't have that much stuff, so we just kind of like grab what we can grab and go. And it really reinvigorated a lot of us in that way. And I think that, you know, the more episodes you watch, there's something palpable in the energy of them that feels like this is a process of a discovery rather than a process of manifesting a specific vision. And that's part of the fun of the show, I think.
Yeah, and it's that creative problem solving at every single step of the process. I mean, especially with music, it's like this is what you've got.
Having
what can you
parameters
do?
actually it's a puzzle, and you make it. You guys didn't really see it in this episode. There's no end titles. Yeah. But
which is another part of the puzzle. Hey,
another
guess what?
part of the puzzle. Yes.
Maybe save money here and we'll do score in the end
Yeah.
titles. Like, yeah.
But I like that. I like it's like on Top Chef or Project Runway. You know, you're
Make it
given
work.
sort of you make it
And the
work.
main message out of ATX Festival is Room 104, like Top Chef or Project Runway. Enjoy Room 104, Friday nights on HBO.
That is the official tagline. Write it down and start sharing. We're going to get to the audience questions here in just a second, but really quickly, I did want to ask about the room. You touched on that it was built, so that you actually you constructed the room, and then I see that, like I know in future episodes it goes through a little bit of change too. So talk to me a little bit about. I mean, it is so lived in and specific and grungy and like it's a gross old.
That's the
hotel.
feeling we have when I stay in hotel rooms. Is I just feel the ghosts of all the people who have lived there before, and all the wonderful and terrible things they've done. So we not only wanted to have a subconscious and conscious sense of that, but the room gets to travel, back in time a little bit, and we get to see some of the history of the hotel. So, this was really the one show I will say where once we started talking about the show, there's a Microsoft Word document on my computer that has, I think right now, like 218 episode ideas, and I think they're all good. Like, and it's because every time I talk to someone about this show, they're like immediately have 3 varying toned stories of their hotel room experiences. One is horrific, one is romantic, one's funny, and once we experience it, we're like, oh yes, it's okay for this to be just tonally all over the place, because that's how we experience these rooms.
It's like the room is the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and it fits every episode differently.
Another great tagline. Room 104,
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Great. All right, guys. Well, I'm sure you've got some questions for these fine folks, so I'm going to try to see your hands, and I will call on you if you've got them. Anybody right here in the front? Yeah.
Would you ever go back and revisit a story? So would we ever see Ralphie again?
Would we ever go back and revisit a story? Would we ever see Ralphie again? That is TBD at the moment. We're still we're kind of caught up. We're writing the 2nd season right now, and we're kind of caught up in all these new stories, so we're kind of like forging forward. But to that end, we have discussed internally and with HBO this as, again, this weird sort of like farm team of like, maybe these amazing characters and we create a whole show with them once they leave the room and follow them, or maybe we'll continue to bring people back. I will say in the DNA of what we were breaking in season 2, there's a little bit more serialized stuff. We've talked about like how much do we want the show to be episodic. You can just come back every night, not having seen the others. How much do we want it to reward the serialized viewer? And that's still kind of in progress. But we do love this feeling. We all talked about like Sid with her boyfriend watches like Seinfeld or Curb at night and loves that it's episodic and she can pop in. And I watch John Oliver or I watch Larry Sanders. And in the era of peak TV, I get this thing, I don't know if you guys have it, where like if I've missed 3 episodes of something, I feel like it's going to be so much energy to catch up, and I end up kind of leaving it behind and just going to those shows where like, well, I can just show up tonight or wherever and pick up, and it doesn't really matter if I've seen the last one. So that we're kind of feeling good about offering something anthologically that like, hey, pop in a Room 104 whenever you want. It's going to be okay if you miss 1 or 2.
We want to be your mistress.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like it either
Slap
do
us around
that-
and leave. You know, we don't care.
I watch Chopped or I binge watch.
Yeah,
It's like trying to keep up week by week is hard.
Yeah.
nice to hear
Slutty Room 104.
So much branding going on here.
Yeah.
We're working through some stuff.
All right, who else has got a question out in the audience? Anybody?
Also, if we don't see you
Oh, here
because
we
it's
go.
hard, we can yell.
Yeah, right here, over here on the left.
I am from New Orleans, living here in Austin, and so I want to know, where are you filming this, and do you ever film in New Orleans, or we would love to have you film here in Austin?
We filmed a bunch of stuff in Austin. We filmed a bunch of stuff in New Orleans. This one, very specifically, films a mile from my house on a small stage that we built. Call time happens about 15 minutes after I drop my children off at school. So as I talk about the reverse engineering of this show into something creatively, it has also been very much reverse engineered into the fact that I'm turned 40 and I'm trying to get happy in my life. And we built this to be a show that we can run 10 seasons and it kind of dovetails with our life really well.
Is that conducive for you guys in the end? Does that schedule? Does Mark's schedule
yeah,
work
it
for
works.
you? Okay, good.
Yup.
Other
Back there,
questions?
there's
Yeah.
one hand I see.
My question is, how much of your personal experiences in hotel rooms like Room 104, like, where are we going to see them popping up? Are there going to be characters like Mark?
That's good. Yeah, how much of our personal
Well,
experiences
I
are
think in
popping
the
up?
7 episodes that Mark wrote in the first season, we learned a lot about Mark.
It was a problem. There is an episode we wanted to show. We didn't have enough time tonight. Called "The Internet," that involves a young writer who was traveling across the country, and he left a copy of his very, very important work he was working on his parents' computer. And he calls his mother to try and get her to email it to him, but she does not know how to use a computer. So it is a somewhat real-time, I would say, tragic comedic episode of a mother and a son almost destroying each other over the emailing of that document. I happen to know a lot about that. But, you know, there's some other stuff. My brother Jay stars in an episode this season. And it's, you know, not to give too much away, but like my brother Jay and I have this experience where we both lost friends who were really close to us at a young age, and we dream about them constantly. So it's sort of about these visitations that you have from people you've known in your past, and that one gets kind of crazy and dreamlike. And you know, now that you're asking this question, we're all over this basically. So yeah, you're gonna learn a lot. There's one right
very
there.
back, yeah.
Hi. Are there any actors, writers, or directors who'd be on your wish list to do an episode?
Any actors, writers, directors on the wish list to do an episode? A lot of them are here, quite honestly. You know, what I have to applaud HBO on is like, I was worried that they weren't going to want to buy the show, and I was like up pitching it when we were in the room, and I was like, and we'll try and get all these like famous people to be in it, so it'll be valuable for you and your network, you know. And the first thing Casey Bloys said to me was like, or you cast all these side characters that you've had as like tangential characters who never get a chance to be the lead of your show because of, for whatever reason, they're just marginalized or aren't famous enough. And then I almost started crying in the room. And I was like, you're the greatest network ever made. You guys are so cool. So, you know, Karan Soni, who was with me in Safety Not Guaranteed, you know, like, he always gets to, like, play, like, the, like, kind of funny Pakistani Indian guy. And I was like, no, come here and be the fucking lead of our show for an episode and do what you do. Be this beautiful, soulful human being. And we get to do that. But then also Philip Baker Hall, who, like, I've loved for years, who also kind of plays a character actor. It's like, just come be the lead. And that's really the fun of this show, is like anybody can be the lead of a 25-minute one-act play in a hotel room, and we're really like trying to like kind of utilize that.
Yeah, the wish list is long, I think.
Yeah, it's long. And hopefully when people see the show, they'll be like, I don't know if I want to come into that room, but maybe.
Excited and scared in
Yeah.
equal measure. That should be good. All right, I think we have time for one more question out there. If I
No
can
pressure,
see
but
you.
it better be
Yeah.
fucking good, guys, because this is the last one. And like,
Don't
this-
let him scare you.
This is how you'll be remembered. Like, just for whatever reason, you know, it's fine. I totally terrified everybody.
Yeah, you scared everybody off, but I do have a question because I
Okay,
think
Ben.
If I'm not mistaken, this is being aired late night, right? This is premiering at like 11:30
Yep.
on what day of the week is it?
11:30 on Friday night.
Friday nights.
Yes.
So, first of all, how do you feel about it? Is that the ideal time for people to be watching? And then, are you excited that people will be, obviously tuning in as well through HBO Now and all of the
Yeah.
kind of streaming services?
So here's two answers. The first answer is the answer I'm supposed to use in press. And I'll give you that just to give you a little insight. The first answer is, oh my God, it's so great to air on a Friday night. It's a late night television show. It's on brand with the incendiary nature and content of the show, and it's great. Great. Okay. Second answer, a little more truthful. Sunday night is a big night on HBO. I used to have a show on there that was expensive called Togetherness. They had to cancel it because there wasn't enough room on the network for that kind of show, and it really broke my heart. When you air on Friday night, you can have a little less viewership because it's kind of like the B- night. And then everybody shows up on HBO Go anyway because only 10% of people watch stuff when it's being aired. And then we get to stay on the air because we're like this cheap, weird show that like a small, dedicated group of people watch, which is like Animals, basically.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because
Yeah.
Animals is a similar strategy.
That's right,
and
man.
It's on its third. It's coming up on its third
So,
season now.
yeah, and Anthony Michael Hall said something really brilliant in 16 Candles, how he's like a freshman. He's like, I'm kind of like the king of the dorks, which is pretty cool. So, like, I want to be like the king of Friday night, like the king of the dorks. And that's cool with me.
All right, take your pick, guys. Mistress, King of the Dorks. There's so many taglines, but make sure you watch Room 104. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Thank you to
Cheers.
the
Thank you,
panelists.
guys.
Guys.